Greenland's political landscape transformed. Democrat's remarkable leap from 9% to 30% marks a new era in governance. On March 11, 2023, Greenland's parliamentary elections resulted in a seismic shift in its political landscape characterized by the stunning rise of the center-right party Democratet. Under the leadership of Jens Frederik Nielsen, Democratet surged from a mere 9% of the vote in the last elections to approximately 30%, significantly altering the trajectory of governance in the self-governing territory of Denmark. This election not only unseated the left-wing Inuit Ataqatigiit IA party, which had held power for years, but also set the stage for a new narrative regarding Greenland's future, particularly concerning its relationship with Denmark and aspirations for independence. The election results. The elections were held as a response to increasing political discontent and a need for renewed leadership. The results revealed Democratet's substantial electoral gain, which saw the party's seats in the Inatsisartut Greenland's 31-seat parliament increase from 4 to 10. The Nalaraq party, which has a strong pro-independence stance, came in second with about 24.5% of the vote, while IA fell to third place with approximately 21.4%. Notably, no party achieved an outright majority, prompting discussions about potential coalition governments as a means to govern effectively. Focus on local issues. A key aspect of this election was the electorate's focus on immediate local issues such as healthcare, education, and economic development over external pressures, particularly from the United States. The backdrop to these elections included provocative remarks from U.S. President Donald Trump, who had expressed a desire for Greenland, claiming it was vital for U.S. national security. This sentiment was met with considerable opposition from Greenlanders who, amidst the geopolitical tension, articulated a strong desire for self-determination. Jensen Frederik Nielsen encapsulated this sentiment succinctly: "We want our own independence in the future," emphasizing the need for Greenlandic citizens to chart their own course. The path to independence. Greenland has been on a path toward increased autonomy since 2009, when Denmark acknowledged its right to self-determination. However, the approach to independence remains a contentious issue among the political parties. Democratet advocates a gradual transition towards independence, prioritizing economic self-sufficiency before making a decisive break from Denmark. This approach contrasts with Nalaraq's more aggressive push for immediate independence, reflecting a broader debate within Greenland about the pace and manner in which they should seek to sever ties with Denmark. Reaction to U.S. interest. The electoral outcome comes at a time when Greenland's geopolitical significance has attracted heightened international scrutiny, especially from the United States. Trump's comments regarding the U.S.'s interest in Greenland have reignited discussions about the island's strategic air and sea routes and its abundant natural resources, particularly rare earth minerals essential for technology and renewable energy. The new leadership will need to navigate these pressures while also addressing domestic concerns, including improving infrastructure and healthcare, which have remained pivotal issues for voters. Coalition dynamics. With no party achieving a clear majority, coalition building becomes essential for governance. Nielsen's Democratet has expressed openness to negotiations with other parties to create a stable government. The dynamics in the new parliament will be crucial, as the coalition's approach to independence and governance will shape Greenland's future. Observers noted that the outcome of these discussions will significantly influence not only domestic policies but also Greenland's international relationships, particularly with Denmark and the United States. A new era in governance. The remarkable electoral leap of Democratet marks a new chapter in Greenland's political history. The shift towards a center-right government indicates a potential pivot in policy direction, focusing on economic development as a prerequisite for independence. The results reflect a broader desire among the Greenlandic people to engage critically with their political future, looking inward to solve pressing issues rather than being swayed by external geopolitical pressures. Conclusion. In summary, the March 11 elections represent a pivotal moment in Greenland's journey towards self-determination. Democrated's rise to prominence underscores a significant transformation in the political landscape, emphasizing the need for economic viability and a strategic approach to independence. As Greenland navigates this new chapter, the interplay between domestic priorities and international pressures will define the trajectory of its governance and autonomy in the years to come. The upcoming coalition negotiations will be instrumental in shaping this future, and the world will be watching closely as Greenland seeks to assert its identity on the global stage. The recent elections in Greenland, which saw the center-right party Democrated achieve a surprising electoral victory, reveal several counterintuitive dynamics at play within the political landscape of the island. 1. Shift from left to right. Generally, political shifts towards the right in many Western democracies often reflect a populace's desire for stability and economic growth, especially in the face of external pressures. However, in Greenland, this rightward shift is occurring in a context where the major concerns of voters, healthcare, education, and local governance seem to overshadow broader geopolitical issues, such as U.S. interests in the region. This indicates that the electorate may prioritize pragmatic governance over ideological alignment. 2. Rejection of external influence. The campaign led by Democrated focused on asserting Greenlandic sovereignty, particularly in response to Donald Trump's controversial remarks about U.S. interests in Greenland. Counterintuitively, instead of rallying around the idea of aligning with a powerful ally like the U.S., voters seem to have chosen a path that asserts their desire for independence and self-determination. This suggests a strong national identity among Greenlanders that resists external pressures, even from potential benefactors. 3. Economic self-sufficiency versus immediate independence. While many Greenlanders express a desire for independence from Denmark, the Democrated Party's platform emphasizes economic self-sufficiency as a prerequisite for such a transition. This is somewhat counterintuitive given the common narrative that independence movements are often driven by a desire to break away from colonial or controlling powers as quickly as possible. Instead, the electorate appears to support a more cautious, measured approach to independence, prioritizing economic readiness over symbolic political autonomy. For coalition politics in a multi-party system, despite the significant gains made by Democrated, no party has achieved an outright majority, which complicates the governance landscape. This outcome contrasts with typical expectations that a clear electoral victory leads to a stable government. Instead, it highlights the complexities of coalition politics, where negotiation and compromise become essential for governance. The willingness of Democrated to engage with other parties, including those with more aggressive pro-independence stances, may indicate a pragmatic approach to governance that prioritizes stability over partisanship. 5. Indigenous identity in governance. Most voters in Greenland identify as Indigenous Inuit, and their preferences reflect a nuanced understanding of their identity in relation to governance. The success of Democrated signals a desire for a government that resonates with local concerns rather than one that is ideologically left or right. This challenges the conventional belief that indigenous populations uniformly align with leftist ideals that emphasize social justice and resistance against colonialism. Instead, the electorate's choice suggests a broader spectrum of political thought and a desire for practical governance that addresses immediate needs. 6. Healthcare and education over geopolitical concerns. The elections show a notable tendency to prioritize local issues over international ones. While Trump's comments about Greenland were sensational, they did not dominate the electoral discourse. Instead, issues like healthcare and education emerged as the primary concerns for voters, which is counterintuitive considering the high-stakes geopolitical environment surrounding Greenland. This reflects a deep-seated belief among voters that their domestic issues should take precedence over external geopolitical maneuvering. 7. Historical context and future governance. The historical relationship between Denmark and Greenland, marked by colonialism and paternalism, complicates the electorate's views on governance and independence. Voters may paradoxically support a gradual approach to independence while simultaneously seeking to redefine their relationship with Denmark. This suggests a sophisticated understanding of their history where calls for independence are mixed with a recognition of the economic and social realities still tethered to Danish governance. In summary, the electoral success of Democrated in Greenland's parliamentary elections highlights several counterintuitive aspects of political behavior and voter priorities, particularly in the context of independence movements. The emphasis on local governance. Economic self-sufficiency and a rejection of external influences showcases a unique political landscape that defies conventional expectations. The recent electoral victory of the Democrated Party in Greenland represents a watershed moment in the territory's political history, with the party's support soaring from a mere 9% 4 years ago to approximately 30%. This significant shift not only alters the political landscape but also signals a nuanced approach to issues of autonomy and governance in the face of external pressures, particularly from the United States. Here are the critical aspects of this transformation that many might overlook, along with their significance. 1. Democrated's political strategy and voter sentiment. Democrated's rise to prominence is notable not just for the numbers but for the underlying voter sentiment it represents. The election results reflect a clear desire among Greenlanders to prioritize local issues such as healthcare and education over geopolitical concerns. This shift is significant because it indicates a maturation of the political consciousness among the electorate, moving beyond historical dependencies and external pressures to focus on immediate everyday concerns. The party's emphasis on a gradual path to independence resonates with a populace seeking stability and economic self-sufficiency before taking the monumental step towards full sovereignty. The contrast with Nalarak, which advocates for a more rapid push for independence, highlights the diversity of opinion on how best to navigate Greenland's future. This nuanced debate on independence is crucial, as it reflects a broader understanding of the complexities involved in nation-building, especially in a context marked by historical colonialism and current geopolitical interests. 2. Impact of external pressure and global context. The significance of the U.S. interest in Greenland, particularly under former President Donald Trump, cannot be overstated. Trump's statements regarding Greenland have sparked a wave of anxiety among Greenlanders about their sovereignty. The fact that the election campaign was largely insulated from these external pressures, with the electorate focusing instead on domestic issues, signifies a strong assertion of local agency. This is particularly important as it demonstrates that Greenlanders are not merely passive recipients of international attention but are actively engaging in shaping their political narrative. The rejection of overtures from the U.S. to incorporate Greenland into its national security strategy reflects a collective desire to retain control over their land and resources, emphasizing the importance of self-determination. 3. Coalition politics and governance dynamics. The absence of an outright majority in the recent elections sets the stage for coalition building, an important aspect of governance that often gets overlooked. The dynamics of coalition politics in a multi-party system like Greenland's can lead to innovative governance solutions but also present challenges in achieving a unified policy direction. As Democrated seeks to form alliances, the negotiations will reveal the political landscape's flexibility and the potential for diverse interests to be represented in governance. Coalition politics may also affect the approach to independence, as compromises will likely be necessary to maintain government stability. This complexity is significant for observers to understand, as it may lead to unexpected policy outcomes that could further influence Greenland's path toward autonomy and self-governance. 4. The role of natural resources in the sovereignty debate. One of the key factors in Greenland's push for independence is its rich natural resources, particularly rare earth minerals, which are critical for global technology and renewable energy sectors. The recent elections occurred against a backdrop of increasing international interest in these resources, particularly from the US and China. The potential exploitation of these resources poses a double-edged sword. While it could provide the economic foundation necessary for independence, it also opens the door to external exploitation and geopolitical maneuvering. This context is significant because it illustrates the delicate balance Greenland must strike between leveraging its resources for economic gain and protecting its sovereignty from foreign influence. 5. Historical context and cultural identity. The historical context of Greenland's relationship with Denmark and the broader implications of colonialism are foundational to understanding the current political climate. Many Greenlanders are aware of the historical injustices that have shaped their society, including forced assimilation policies and cultural erasure. The emphasis on self-determination and a slow measured approach to independence can be viewed as a reclaiming of agency not just politically but also culturally. The historical narrative plays a crucial role in how Greenlanders envision their future. And acknowledging this context is vital for comprehending the significance of the election results. 6. Future implications for international relations. The electoral outcome has profound implications not only for Greenland's domestic policies but also for its international relations, particularly with Denmark and the US. As Greenland navigates its path toward greater autonomy, it will need to engage with these countries while asserting its rights and interests. The Danish government's acknowledgement of Greenland's right to self-determination indicates a potential for a more equitable relationship, but the historical context complicates this dynamic. The evolving geopolitical landscape, especially with increased U.S. interest in the Arctic, means that Greenland's future governance will have to balance local priorities with international pressures. Conclusion. Greenland's political transformation, marked by its electoral success, is a complex interplay of local aspirations, historical context, and external pressures. The focus on local issues. The nuanced debate surrounding independence and the implications of resource management are critical elements that deserve attention. Understanding these facets is essential for anyone interested in the future of Greenland, as they will shape not only the territory's governance but also its place in the global arena. The coming years will be pivotal as Greenland navigates its own path amid the shifting geopolitical landscape, making the outcomes of these elections a significant turning point in its history. For valuable points for in-depth analysis and discussion on Greenland's political landscape transformation, its leap from 9% to 30%. 1. Electoral dynamics and party shift. The dramatic rise of the Democratic Party from 9% to approximately 30% in the recent elections signifies a profound shift in Greenland's political dynamics. This transformation can be analyzed through various lenses, including voter sentiment, the shifting political priorities of Greenlanders, and the implications of coalition building in a parliamentary system where no party achieved an outright majority. The strategy adopted by Democratic, focusing on local issues such as healthcare and education rather than external geopolitical pressures, reflects a notable change in how political campaigns are conducted in Greenland. The implications of this shift not only impact current governance but also set a precedent for future elections, as it indicates a possible preference among voters for parties that prioritize local issues over international relations. 2. Independence and economic self-sufficiency. The election results have reignited discussions regarding Greenland's path toward independence from Denmark. Democratic's approach advocates for a gradual transition, emphasizing economic self-sufficiency before pursuing full sovereignty. This perspective contrasts sharply with the more expedited vision of the Naleraq Party, which seeks a quicker break from Denmark. The analysis of these differing views on independence is critical, as it highlights the complexities of achieving autonomy in the context of economic realities, international interests, and historical governance. Debates around economic self-sufficiency, particularly in relation to Greenland's rich natural resources, will shape not only domestic policy but also international negotiations and relationships with Denmark and other global powers, especially the US. 3. Geopolitical considerations and external pressures. The renewed interest from the United States, particularly following President Trump's controversial statements regarding Greenland, adds a layer of complexity to the political landscape. The strategic significance of Greenland with its control over vital air and sea routes and its natural resource wealth has made it a focal point in geopolitical discussions. Analyzing how external pressures from the US and the historical context of Denmark's governance affect Greenland's political decisions is essential. This includes examining how the new government under Democratit will navigate international relations, particularly in light of potential US ambitions in the Arctic region, and how these external influences may shape Greenland's internal political discourse and strategies for independence. 4. Impact on domestic policy and governance. The electoral outcome has significant implications for domestic policy, particularly in areas such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure development. The emphasis on these local issues during the campaign suggests a shift towards governance that prioritizes the immediate needs of the Greenlandic population. Analyzing how the new government will address these domestic challenges while simultaneously managing the expectations for independence and economic growth is crucial. The role of coalition negotiations in shaping future policies and the balance between achieving local priorities and responding to external pressures will be pivotal in determining the effectiveness and stability of Democratit's governance. This point can lead to a broader discussion on how local governance structures can adapt to changing political landscapes and the importance of public opinion in shaping policy agendas. These 4 points provide a comprehensive framework for a deeper analysis of Greenland's evolving political landscape, highlighting the interplay between local governance aspirations for independence, external geopolitical dynamics, and domestic policy priorities. 1. The rise of the Scottish National Party (SNP) in Scotland. 2015. The Scottish National Party experienced a significant electoral transformation during the 2015 UK general election when it won 56 out of 59 parliamentary seats in Scotland, marking a dramatic increase from just 6 seats in 2010. This surge in support was driven by a strong nationalist sentiment following Scotland's independence referendum in 2014, where the SNP capitalised on calls for greater autonomy and self-governance. The SNP's success reshaped the political landscape in Scotland, leading to increased discussions about independence from the United Kingdom and a focus on local issues such as healthcare and education. 2. The fall of the Berlin Wall and the rise of German unity. 1989 to 1990. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 marked a pivotal moment in both German and European history, leading to the reunification of East and West Germany in 1990. The political landscape transformed as East Germany transitioned from a socialist regime to a democratic government facing challenges of integration and economic disparity. The desire for national sovereignty and unity among the German populace fueled a movement that ultimately led to the end of decades of division, similar to Greenland's push toward independence and self-determination. 3. The transition of South Africa from apartheid to democracy. 1994. South Africa's transition from apartheid to a democratic government in the early 1990s represents a significant political transformation. The African National Congress (ANC), led by Nelson Mandela, emerged victorious in the 1994 elections, marking the end of institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination. This change was driven by a widespread desire for equality, self-governance, and social justice among the South African population. The ANC's rise to power and the subsequent focus on rebuilding the nation parallels Greenland's current political shift and the emphasis on local governance and independence from external pressures. Future outlook: predictions for Greenland's political landscape post-Democratit victory. The recent electoral success of the Democratit Party has transformed Greenland's political landscape, marking a significant shift that could have lasting implications for governance, independence, and international relations. As we look to the future, several predictions can be made regarding the trajectory of Greenland's political and social environment. 1. Coalition governance and political stability. With Democratit's rise to prominence and no party securing an outright majority, the future of Greenland's governance will likely involve coalition building. This could lead to a more collaborative political environment where parties must negotiate and compromise on key issues. particularly concerning independence and economic policy.
The necessity of forming coalitions may foster a sense of unity among parties, but it could also lead to fragmentation and instability if coalitions prove difficult to maintain.
2. Gradual path to independence. Democratit has signaled a preference for a gradual approach to independence favoring economic self-sufficiency before fully breaking away from Denmark.
This could entail a series of reforms aimed at strengthening local governance and enhancing economic resilience, particularly in sectors like healthcare, education, and resource management. As a result, the timeline for independence might extend further into the future, allowing for a more measured transition that addresses the concerns of both the population and international stakeholders.
3. Increased focus on local issues.
The recent elections highlighted a desire among Greenlanders to prioritize local issues over external pressures, particularly geopolitical concerns stemming from U.S. interests in the region.
In the coming years,
there may be a stronger emphasis on addressing domestic challenges such as healthcare, education, and housing.
This could manifest in policy initiatives aimed at improving living standards and economic opportunities for Greenlanders, reflecting the electorate's priorities.
4. Heightened international scrutiny.
As Greenland's political landscape evolves, the island will likely attract increased international attention, particularly from the US and Denmark.
The strategic importance of Greenland with its abundant natural resources and geopolitical location will continue to be a focal point for foreign interest. Greenland's government may need to navigate complex international relations, carefully balancing domestic aspirations for independence with external pressures and interests.
5. Resource management and economic diversification. Greenland is rich in natural resources, including rare earth minerals essential for the global technology and renewable energy sectors.
The new government under Democratit
may prioritize the responsible management of these resources to boost economic growth while ensuring environmental sustainability.
This could involve partnerships with international companies and governments, fostering an economy that is less dependent on Denmark and more integrated into global markets.
6. Cultural renaissance and national identity.
With a renewed focus on independence, there may be a cultural renaissance in Greenland characterized by a resurgence of Inuit identity and heritage.
This could lead to increased investment in cultural programs, education, and the promotion of the Greenlandic language, strengthening national pride and unity.
As Greenlanders increasingly assert their identity, the political discourse may shift toward a more inclusive narrative that resonates with younger generations.
7. Potential for tensions with Denmark and the US.
As Greenland moves toward greater autonomy, tensions with Denmark and the US may arise, particularly regarding resource management and military presence.
Denmark might face challenges in balancing its historical governance role with Greenland's aspirations for independence.
Meanwhile, U.S. interests, particularly in military and resource access, could lead to friction if Greenland's government pursues policies that diverge from American strategic goals.
8. Impact of climate change on governance.
Climate change will likely play a significant role in shaping Greenland's future political landscape.
The melting ice caps and changing ecosystems may affect local economies, livelihoods, and migration patterns.
The government will need to address these challenges, proactively integrating climate resilience into its policies.
This could also enhance Greenland's role in international discussions on climate change, positioning it as a critical player in Arctic governance.
Conclusion. The transformation of Greenland's political landscape following Democratit's electoral victory heralds a new era in governance that emphasizes local issues, gradual independence,
and international engagement.
As the political environment evolves, it will be essential for Greenland to navigate the complexities of coalition governance, international relations, and resource management while fostering a strong sense of national identity. The coming years will be pivotal in determining how Greenland balances its aspirations for independence with the practical realities of its geopolitical position and domestic needs.